God bless you, and thanks for tuning in to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. I'm Jerry Usher, along with Debbie Georgiani and you, and we know you're going to make this another great program with your wisdom, insights, your takes, your lived experiences. And what we're going to be talking about today is what many people are talking about this time of year, and especially this weekend. It's Mother's Day, and Debbie, you have picked out a theme for our show today, which is, not it's a little bit different than what we've done on Mother's Day weekends before.
Yeah. We normally talk about the typical Hallmark type celebrations about honoring mothers and everything, but we're going to get into some of the backstories, or the real and the good, the bad, and the ugly parts of these holiday celebrations when you're interacting with family members, or you have lost family members, they have passed on, or you don't have any children, and so this has become, it's tough for you to watch TV because you see all those commercials and it's really tough to relate to them. And it just, really gets to you in the heart. And so we want to ask the question today, are you looking forward to Mother's Day or not? And why? So if you are, we want to share your joys, okay? We want to share that. Let's talk about that. Maybe you've had loved ones that have been away from the family for a while, and then they're back, that prodigal child. How amazing is that? So we want to hear about that, the joys of that. But then we also want to hear how this holiday, this occasion can be quite painful. We want to hear about that. So could you call in and share? It's very painful for me. I'll just let you know. If I could sleep all day on Sunday and then just wake up Monday morning and be with the Take Two family, that would be my happiest celebration. It's a very painful time for me right now. So I'm just putting it out there. Jerry, you're not a female, you're not a mother, so and your mother passed away, and your sister has passed away. So you really don't have a lot of interaction with mothers. But I would say that, so for this is just another day maybe for you, but for those of us who are mothers, and it troubles us so deeply and hits us so hard about how our children have, stepped away from that bond, if you will. It's a tough thing. So let's talk about it. Mother's Day, the good, the bad, and the ugly. 833-288-3986.
So do I get the show off today then? Can I go back to bed?
No, you're just preparing for Father's Day.
That's right. And something else too, being with this pandemic, maybe you for months and months have had this wonderful Mother's Day surprise or some kind of gathering, arranged and in mind and planned for your mom, your grandmother, your spouse, some mother in your life. And now with the pandemic, it's going to, put the kibosh on all of those plans. Maybe you're disappointed about that. Feel free to share that as well at 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. But I love the fact that you took this angle on this, Debbie, because like you said, we have I think the hallmark holidays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, these things, they can be kind of, we can be a little bit idealistic about them. They can be very beautiful celebrations. And it's wonderful to honor mothers, and it's great when families are happy and unified and come together and all of that. But this is something that it's also part of real life that I don't think ever gets talked about. So I'm glad you took this angle on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it came to us from a lot of our listeners, our Take Two listeners, really wanting us to address this because it's painful. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. You go ahead and take it, Jerry. I have to sneeze, and I have to do the proper sneeze now because of COVID-19. So go.
Debbie and I are sufficiently social distanced right now. She is in the Phoenix area, and I'm at home in Southern California. So don't worry about us. She's going to sneeze once or maybe twice. And sometimes they come in threes, actually. And what's really weird is I've just started, for the first time in my life, I've started coughing and sneezing at the same time. You ever done that?
Yes.
You cough a couple times and a sneeze joins the cough, and I'm going, okay, wow, that was really weird.
I think the more you think about it, I'm trying not to sneeze, so it makes me want to sneeze. You try not to sniffle, it makes you sniffle. I mean, it's hilarious how your mind can just fixate on something, and then it all of a sudden starts to become a problem. So, but I did the proper, in your arm, in your elbow sneeze. I've never done that before, but oh well. Are you looking forward to Mother's Day or not, and why? We want to hear from you. Please fill those phone lines at 833-288-3986. That's the number to call. We'd like to hear your take on Mother's Day. It's very, very important. We'd like to address this from all angles so that we can walk away and we all are comforted knowing that others understand, they empathize, they can relate to things, and it keeps us supported where we're at in our faith life and in just our daily lives, Jerry. I think one of Satan's ways of trying to manipulate us is to make us feel like we're the only ones going through this. And that's really dangerous, because when you think you're the only one going through it, what could happen? You could fall into despair very easily.
Absolutely.
And that's not what God wants for us. So let's talk about it. Okay, couple open phone lines. We want to hear from you about Mother's Day, 833-288-3986.
Yeah, the question is, do you look forward to it? Maybe you did in the past. Maybe your circumstances have changed. Maybe you don't have the family support around you, that immediate family, even the kind of extended family. So how has Mother's Day maybe evolved for you a little bit? Maybe it's gotten better now that you have maybe some in-laws and some grandkids. Maybe Mother's Day has become something beautiful, whereas before it wasn't quite what it is for you right now. So there's a lot of different ways we want to approach this with you on the program today, but you are the ones who drive it and make it all happen. You make the show possible. 833-288-3986. And speaking of making the show possible, Michael Birchfield is our producer. He is on the control board today. Jeff Burson is taking your social media comments on the Facebook and YouTube video streams. And, of course, Ryan Penny is answering your calls. So the show team is in place, and we thank our affiliates for carrying the program. And, Debbie, we do have, let's see how many we got. Actually, just one phone line is still open. Who would like that? 833-288-3986.
Well, you never disappoint us, the Take Two family. We're so glad you stick with us, and you've been sticking with us for almost 5 years. We have a lot of new listeners, and we love that. We love to grow the family. So let's continue to grow the family at 833-288-3986. This is a safe place to share your thoughts. Just pretend like we're in your living room, having a cool drink or a hot cup of tea or something, and we're sitting down just chatting about Mother's Day. 833-288-3986. Jerry, I love the Take Two family. Look how they never, ever disappoint.
I know. Full phone lines right now, but we have a queue that you can get into to be next after we finish up one of these calls here. So do keep dialing. We want you to be able to share your take on this today at 833-288-3986.
We should pray because prayer is conversation with God, and conversation is the only way to build a relationship. We need that relationship with God. We should pray and talk with God about what's on our hearts, what's on our minds, what's active in our lives, the joys we have. We should share all of these with God. Prayer is conversation, and conversation is the only way to build a relationship with God. It's the most important relationship. All of our other relationships depend on this one.
Check out EWTN's official YouTube channel.
Just follow the link on our homepage at EWTN.com or go to YouTube.com/EWTN.
Watch EWTN's live shows or today's homily from the Daily Mass.
Click the upload button to see our most recent clips.
You can also find all of EWTN YouTube content by clicking the playlist button.
It's all on the official EWTN YouTube channel at YouTube.com/EWTN.
Visit today.
He was a Jesuit, a cardinal, and a doctor of the Church.
Matthew Bunson and the Doctors of the Church.
St. Robert Bellarmine is honored for his immense contributions to theology, including helping to draft 2 important catechisms that defended church teachings during the Protestant revolt. Pope Clement VIII named Bellarmine a cardinal because, as the Pope put it, Bellarmine had not his equal for learning.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on this Friday, and Debbie always says, don't start your weekend yet, because we've got a program here that we need your participation in, and you are coming through big time. We're going to get to all of your calls in just a moment. I want to point out, though, a show that airs tomorrow and every Saturday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time and 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It's The Church Alive, and tomorrow on the episode, EWTN radio and TV personality Teresa Tomeo will talk about her new book Conquering Coronavirus, How Faith Can Put Your Fears to Rest. Also, they'll have Dominican Father Thomas Petrie, who will be encouraging people to pray the rosary during the month of May, which we know is traditionally dedicated to our Blessed Mother Mary. So that's at Church Alive tomorrow. 2 times it airs on Saturdays, 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay. I'm just looking at the calls coming in, and we're ready to go. So this is we're going to talk about Mother's Day today. Casey is up first in South Carolina. I love that area, Casey. Listening on Alexa. Welcome to Take Two.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I just wanted to share my bittersweet story of Mother's Day.
Okay.
So in 2013, I had 2 kids. One was like 7 months old and one was like 2. And I got pregnant. And since we already had 2 healthy pregnancies, we figured this was going to be our 3rd child. And our youngest was not even 1 yet. So we realized how close they would be and everything. And so, but we got excited because this baby was going to be a Christmas baby. And then I found out on April 23rd that the pregnancy wasn't progressing. And then I finally had the miscarriage on Mother's Day that year. Ooh. So, so it's always bittersweet. But this is how it's bittersweet, because God gave us our 3rd born child on the same day I found out I had lost that baby.
My.
So on April 23rd, 2014, I had my rainbow baby. So
wow.
It's bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
Bittersweet is right. And, it's just like God to do something like that, Casey. I mean, miscarriage, again, as Debbie pointed out, I'm not a mother. Of course, I've never been married and had kids, but I know a lot of people, including my sister-in-law, who has had 2 miscarriages, and I've seen the pain that causes and the questioning. It's like, God, why? Like you said, we had these 2 healthy babies already, but that is so beautiful. Yeah. That's just God's way of saying, he's got that miscarried baby. He's got that baby in his arms, and he's saying, now here, have this 3rd healthy child and have it on this same date. And Debbie, isn't that? Mm-hmm. Dates are so beautiful and so important for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let me ask you this, given that this date is so important on many levels in your life, have you pulled away anything? Have you extracted anything from this, Casey, on what like maybe is behind the scenes on this?
No, I don't know. It's so weird though, because I just I want to fully be involved in Mother's Day and my kids, enjoying it and doing those things for me, but there's still a part of me that's just not there. Mm-hmm. So
I wonder if it's a message for all of us that, we should always remember that we're all connected, whether we're here on earth or we have passed on. I wonder if it's a message to all of us to constantly be aware of that. What do you think, Casey? That's what came to me as you were speaking.
Yeah. I mean, it brought me closer to God, because one of the only things some days that, I love my kids, don't get me wrong, but especially with the coronavirus, we're all a little on edge. But one of the things that I'm constantly reminded of that keeps me going is that if I can do good in this world, that I will eventually get to meet my child in heaven. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
right. Did you name your child, Casey?
I did. We didn't get to find out if it was a boy or a girl. Mm-hmm. So we chose the name Raziel, which means a mystery of God.
Oh,
wow.
So only God knows.
Only God knows. How did you spell that name?
It's Razille.
I love it.
Raziel, yeah.
So, and all my kids have double letters in their names. So hers is perfect.
Okay, well, now go ahead, Casey. Run down the list of all the kids. We want to hear it now.
Maggie, Flynn, Emma, and Cooper.
Oh, I love it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You sound like such a great mom. I would take you as a mom.
Thank you. I try.
You could be her mom, Debbie.
I know I could be her mom.
Debbie
I could probably
be your
her
mom,
grandmother.
Casey.
I know.
Casey, I'm sure you probably thought of this way before I did today, but this being the month of Mary, May is the month of Mary. Just if you haven't yet done so, you probably have, but just really draw close to her because she didn't have a miscarriage, but she did see her son suffer and be brutally tortured and die, and so that's maybe a little bit of a connection there, in how she lost her son and you lost that one baby. So it's just a thought that came to my mind there.
Yeah, I actually watched the Passion of the Christ last year with my daughter who was going through her first Holy Communion, and I never looked at it through Mary's eyes because I hadn't watched it since it first came out in theaters. And then I actually looked through her eyes because I was a mother then, and I'm like, I cried horribly because to have to witness that, and she did it so bravely. So.
Right. Wow. We thank you so much for calling in. Thank you. We so appreciate it. You really started off the conversation just perfectly today, and we wish you a very happy Mother's Day, Casey. Call again, okay?
All right, I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
It's so true, though, the Passion of the Christ, when you see it through Mary's eyes. When you see it through somebody else's perspective, you get a whole new understanding, and it hits you very, very deeply. And that's what we try to do, Jerry, very often when we're doing life coaching. We try to see where people's come from are and where their perspective is, and that gives us a better understanding so you can walk with them,
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Okay, that line that Casey was on is open. That is 833-288-3986. Speaking of Mary, our Blessed Mother, we're going to go to another Mary in San Antonio next, listening to Take Two on Guadalupe Radio. Hi, Mary. Thank you for your call.
Hi, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my 60s. My husband and I have two grown children, and our oldest is our daughter, who is 30. She'll be 36 this year. And when she was 2, she was diagnosed with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and it was devastating. It was something that we had to learn to understand and do what we felt was best for her. And at the time, my husband was a pharmacist at that time, and then after going through that experience, he decided to go to medical school and initially thought that he wanted to be like a physical therapist, a lot based on what we had experienced with her. And so as she grew up, I really tried to engage in ways to make her feel whole. I really don't want to cry because I want to get all this out.
Sure.
And I got several pen pals for her. I did a lot of things, and we always taught her that there was nothing that she couldn't do if she really wanted to do that. So obviously she didn't excel in sports because of the physical part of that. And I'll have to say that it's never been debilitating for her. She has a PhD in physics now, and she teaches. Or actually, she does research now. And as she was growing up, she really did excel, especially academically. Then she got married, and she moved away to Seattle. And Seattle changed her tremendously. It didn't start off that way. She went out there to pursue PhD program and had intentions of moving back to Texas. But Seattle had a great influence on her, and she got to a point in her life where she decided, and I also want to say she's also had other autoimmune issues since then, a lot of health issues. But she decided that my husband and I had not, she calls it her story. And she really withdrew from us, essentially. She didn't speak to my husband for about 3 years. And she withdrew from me for about 6 months, where she told me she couldn't talk to me. She's never been hateful or mean, but she withdrew. She received counseling of whatever sort. And she's never directly engaged us in that process with counseling, but her story that we've gathered from bits and pieces is that she never had a voice as a child to express the pain and the difficulty that she was having dealing with this chronic illness. And that is very opposite of what I feel like the journey was, because we provided so many outlets and ways for her to not allow herself to be a victim of her disease. And she's very politically correct in wording things and wants us to be very politically correct. She has since come back around, and she does call and she does talk to us, but that medical issues we essentially just don't even discuss with her. I listen to her talk about them, but I don't ever give input because it's usually not well received or welcomed, and I don't need to. She's an adult. But when she was growing up, some of the things that, like, we tried to get her to take on her own care as she became a young adult or closer to the age of going away to college. And because I used to be sure that her prescriptions were called in and picked up, and that she, I reminded her about taking medication. And when she was a senior in high school, I really wanted her to take responsibility because she was going to another city and she needed to learn and do those things. But she had really rejected a lot of it, and she would call home and say, "My prescription's empty. Can Dad call something in?" Because he was a physician by then. And so she rejected it in a lot of ways. And but her memories and the things that we hear are that she was traumatized. She wasn't allowed to have a voice. She didn't have good experiences. And just like yesterday when I was talking to her, she was talking about some chiropractic work that she was going to have done. And she was talking about a leg discrepancy difference. And I asked her if she remembered as a child that she did have a leg discrepancy, and I used to take her shoes in to be special made so that she would have the proper gait, and also she wouldn't be made fun of for the way she walked. And she doesn't recall a lot of things that, that I might bring up. And I don't bring them up to drive any point home with her, but when she was talking about the leg discrepancy, it made me remember that she had that as a child and she outgrew it. And so I feel like her memories have been somehow altered.
Mm-hmm.
And it really does hurt because it makes me feel like she doesn't view us as good parents.
Right.
And we worked so hard for her to have a normal, quote unquote, life where she wasn't a victim. And now
Mary, can I ask you a question, Mary? Is your daughter practicing the faith? Is she close to God at this time, or is she wavered in that? I know you must have imparted that to her.
Yeah, she. That's another area where she doesn't like to talk to us. She does have some kind of faith, but she will say things like, "My God is different than yours. I don't buy into what I was raised with."
Yeah.
And as far as she'll go with it. And
if I can just jump in here, Mary, we're going to need to take a break in just about a minute and a half, and we can carry you over if need be. But there was a reason that I asked that. I just had this sense come over me that, sometimes we take our experiences of our human parents and we project things onto God. So since she's having these difficulties, recalling the good that you did for her, and maybe just thinking of maybe just trying to think of negative thoughts, that maybe she's transferring that onto God as well. But I can just remember when I was a boy. I'll just try and relate this. I was born with club feet, and my parents did everything they could for me. I had surgeries. I wore braces at night in bed, and thanks be to God. I mean, I still have foot problems all the time, but I just remember they did everything they could for me. And the one memory that I have that sticks out is they took me to the hospital one time, and that was at the time when, families couldn't really stay in hospital. So I just had this vision of my parents walking away, and for years when I would think about that, I would break down and cry. And I had this one, that's the memory that stuck with me in spite of all the wonderful, amazing things that they did for me. So maybe Debbie, that's part of what her daughter is going through right now, but it's a blessing to hear that she has, resumed that communication at least. And that's a very good start.
Yeah, it's a very good start, and it's a start for your future with your daughter and the relationship that you're going to have. Mary, if you hear that music, I'm sure you can hear it by now. Please hang on. Just a couple more comments, and maybe we can offer you some encouraging words to get prepared for this Mother's Day that's coming up. So, Mary, hang on, and the others as well. We'll be right back talking about Mother's Day.
Deacon Harold Burke-Sivers.
We live in a culture today that says that suffering is meaningless, therefore we have to avoid it. What we're talking about here is finding meaning in the suffering that is unavoidable.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
60 Seconds with Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen.
Because God knows all things and because He is Creator, it follows that every single thing in the world was made according to an idea or a pattern existing in the divine mind. Look round about you. You see a bridge, a statue, a painting, a building. Before any of these things began to be, they existed in the mind of the one who designed or planned them. In like manner, there is not a tree, a flower, a bird, an insect in the world that does not in some way correspond to an idea existing in the divine mind.
The people you know and trust are on EWTN.
The wisdom of Mother Angelica.
Isn't it awesome that we today do not recognize His presence in the Eucharist? Is it because we really don't go to Him in humbleness of heart and say, Lord, I don't believe, help my unbelief. Lord, I want to see you. I want to recognize you. I cannot live without you. Are we saying that?
EWTN. Live truth. Live Catholic.
Monday on More to Life. You got this.
Worried about the week ahead? We're going to help you regain your confidence.
Now back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We're talking about Mother's Day that's coming up on Sunday. Are you looking forward to it or not? And why? We're speaking with Mary in San Antonio, Texas on Guadalupe Radio Network, and Mary sharing her story with her precious daughter and where they're at in their relationship. Mary, a couple quick questions I just want to ask you. So you and your husband, you're the biological parents of your daughter?
Yes.
Okay. So you have an intact family?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any, I didn't catch if there was any other siblings.
Yes, we have a son that's about 3 years younger than her.
Okay. How does he feel about this situation?
He doesn't say a lot about it. We don't really have a family discussion. We all live in different cities now, and it's never been really a family discussion. I do think that as a child, he felt we were cautious around her that he couldn't, because he could easily injure her. Mm-hmm. And I think he recalls like a lot of having to give in to her because of her physical disability.
Right. Okay.
But he doesn't say a whole lot about it. I mean, we are all in communication and we dearly love one another, but I do feel when Mother's Day comes around that she doesn't view me as a good mom.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see. I think she does. She just doesn't realize it. There's a big difference there. You know, sometimes people deep inside, they know the truth, but they're just not willing to either acknowledge that or accept that for some reason. There's a block there. My question is, when we turned the corner and 2020 came in as a brand new year, everybody was talking about as the year of clear vision. And I'm just going to throw this out there, Mary. Is there something that you can do as a family? Everybody's doing virtual everything. There's also virtual, therapy sessions and counseling sessions and coaching sessions and everything. As a family, you, your husband, your daughter, your son, could you come together and say, where are we going from this point forward? There's a big difference. Okay, if we're constantly going to look in our rearview mirror, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be healthy. Okay, think about driving a car. If you weren't looking ahead and surveying the whole thing ahead of you on the streets, you'd crash, right? If you were looking in the mirror and looking backwards, you'd crash. You would hit a tree or hit something, right? So you have to figure out, where are we going from this point forward? Now, if your daughter is completely happy how she's walking this path, well, then you're going to have to commit it completely to prayer, and it's in God's timing. But I bet that there is room for growth for all four of you. What do you think, Mary?
Yeah, it's such a long, complicated story, and I'm sure I didn't get everything out there. I do think that she believes herself to be happy. It's just difficult for me, and especially around these kinds of holidays where I feel like she doesn't really have. I would say it's she loves me. She calls me, and I know she loves me. I know that without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not willing really to engage any type of conversation around it.
Right.
She believes that she has the answers and that she's gotten her counseling and she knows what she calls it her story. And I'm willing to move on. I'm willing, but it's just that when Mother's Day comes around, it is hard.
I
well,
get
Mary,
it. Yeah.
you mentioned her story, Mary, and you gave us yours. And the thing is, she is not seeing all that you and your husband did for her the way that you are. So maybe I would suggest this: as Mother's Day comes this year and in subsequent years, try and use your own narrative, your own story of what you and your husband did. You know the facts. You know what you did. You poured your heart out for her. You would do it again 1,000,000 times over. Let that be what you, I don't want to say celebrate on Mother's Day because it may not be a celebration for you, but let that be your comfort a little bit anyway, your consolation, Mary. What do you think about that? Just, making your focus be on, you are a good mother. Look what you did. And your husband is a good father. Look what you both did together. Maybe take that approach on Mother's Day. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's what we do and what we need to continue to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you asked the question, it really touched a chord. The topic of the show, it really did touch a chord.
Well, yeah, and that's something deep inside of you and your husband, Mary, and Debbie. The thing is, like you said, you got to be looking forward, not in the rearview mirror. And we also know that God works powerfully through this radio show and through the calls, Debbie. When the people call and get things out and share them and look at them objectively, I think a lot of healing can start and really begin for Mary and her husband, or it's probably already begun, but
Absolutely.
I think healing can come. Yeah.
And hold on to that, like you said so clearly, I know she loves me. Okay, hold on to that, Mary. Hold on to that. That's a lot more than some of the rest of us there's a lot of us that don't get to hear those or feel those words anymore. And so you're actually in a much better place than you think you are, believe it or not. At least she loves you and you have an intact family, and that's huge. So constantly bring that to mind for you this weekend and see if that can make a difference. Okay, we're with you in prayer, and we're going to keep you supported in prayer. You might even feel like a floating sensation, because a lot of people do, because our prayer warriors are going round the clock. Okay, Mary?
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Mary, for the call. And Mary, if you're still listening, Mary Ann, one of our great listeners, said, hi, guys. Brad and I, her husband Brad and I, are listening to Mary's story and can sympathize with her. Brad was saying that it probably wasn't Seattle that changed her. it was probably the indoctrination that happens to our kids in many of the colleges. There's a possibility there. She says, just adding our 2 cents worth, and know that you're being prayed for, Mary, by Marianne and Brad and all of the Take Two family.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was just checking another message. Messages
Sure.
are coming in very quickly, especially so many folks are praying for Marian. Huh?
As usual, yeah. I know,
I know
yeah.
everybody's praying. Everybody is praying, and that's good. We're all praying for one another.
Okay, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie asking you, do you look forward to Mother's Day or not? Why in either situation? And we're going to go to Cynthia next in Hookdale, Illinois, listening on St. Bernadette Radio. Thank you, Cynthia, for your phone call to Take Two. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for taking my call. I'll probably, just being fair, I think I probably would not be looking forward to Mother's Day this year because I have 10 brothers and sisters. There's 11 of us, and we just lost our mother like 3 months ago, and she was 97 years old, and we totally loved her to pieces. She was our light, and we always wondered how she got through raising all 11 of us. And now I'm finding out, since I was appointed executor of her trust, that there are lots of little notes and cards that she had written and some personal things in her journal about how much she loved all of us and my father. And then also she would tell us how much, and she still told us that to the very last rosary that we prayed right before she passed away, that she depended so much on the Blessed Mother to get her through everything that she had to do, because my father was very busy as a physician working on a medical complex here in our community. And so Mother was pretty much the one in charge at home all these years. And so we all grew and had quite a bonding situation. And recently, my brother, I think he's 50, I'm not sure, he just had a birthday 2 days ago. And he made a comment that for the first time, he felt like an orphan because he didn't have his mother or his father. And so we're trying to get through all that, obviously, by keeping each other supported. And we truly loved her very much, and we still do. She had 54 grandchildren, 58 great-grandchildren. And we had a tradition that we're still going to try and keep going, and that is every Mother's Day, we would each buy a plant for her garden, and she made sure that we didn't leave until we planted the plant because she wasn't going to be able to do that. So it would be a planting day, and then we would all celebrate all the beautiful flowers at the same time. So that's kind of what we did. I think we're still going to keep that garden going right by her window.
Wow, Cynthia, what a beautiful, beautiful tradition. And I love the fact she wouldn't let you leave until they were all planted because she couldn't do it. 97 years of age. That is a life well lived. And Cynthia, from everything that you're telling us, your mother, and it sounds like your father as well, probably were just really saintly people here on earth, and we pray for their souls in the care of the Lord right now. I'm just, as you're talking, I'm calling to mind, we're seeing a lot of commercials on TV right now during this pandemic that are pointing out how parents and in particular moms sometimes are taking on the role of schooling their kids, and they say 2 or 3 kids, and now I'm teaching the kids at school and all of this, and that's fantastic. It's beautiful that parents do that. But when you multiply the 2 or 3 kids by 3 or 4 times, and then you look at what your parents did, I think it's a real tribute to them. I think, and it's so touching that your brother feels, that way, like a little bit of an orphan right now. But know that they are in heaven. Well, I shouldn't say that. Know that they're with God, and that they can be praying with you and for you. Debbie, you always like to say they're closer to us in death sometimes than in life. So
yeah, absolutely, and I would just say, how exciting for you to all get on a conference call or virtually get together and just talk about probably countless memories that you have of your parents and everything that transpired in your gigantic family of 11, and I think it's really healthy to walk down those wonderful that wonderful memory lane and to laugh and to cry and to have that. And it could be really, helpful for, especially like your brother, for when you feel that loss, memories are very powerful. They're very strong, and they have an ability to give a sense of comfort in the moment, when directed properly. So I'm sure you've thought of that, Cynthia, but I just would encourage you. You probably have stories and stories to tell about your family.
We certainly do. Absolutely. We certainly do. And I thank you, Debbie and Jerry. I thank you for being such a kind, understanding host for all the folks that do call in to you, because it is a really important program that we can actually talk with you and have your feedback on our thoughts.
Oh, thank you.
You're the one who drives it, Cynthia, you and all of the members of the Take Two family. So thank you so much. We'll be praying that you have a most blessed weekend, and that Father's Day coming up, I think next month, isn't it? Will be equally blessed for your husband as well. God bless you, or for all of your siblings. Thank you, Cynthia, for the call. 833-288-3986.
Mary Lou is next.
Yep, Mary Lou.
Mary Lou is in Marshfield, Massachusetts, listening on the Station of the Cross. As a first-time caller, you get the virtual bell. Hi, Mary Lou.
Well, I did call because I made a donation. I think about a year and a half ago, a little over a year. But yeah, that was I forget what I heard that time to give me the incentive. But I was really pleased with what I was hearing. So thank you for having this opportunity. Because I think I shared a little bit briefly, because in coming on to the month of May, it's always, as we grew up, and I think a lot of, I just turned 70 into the next decade, but young children, the Mother Mary, it was her month, the month of May, and that's when May processions and some of the communions and that. But it was also a time when I was, my third was, I knew he was going to be a good-sized baby, and I had complications with my first, but I didn't think, much of it, because I'm third of nine, and lots of babies, lots of kids, but it was just it came close to the time, and I really felt that it was the real thing. So my husband took me to the hospital, and I ended up spending the night. And I said to him, I'm not going back, because I'm not until I'm really ready. And so it was actually a couple of days later, but when I got to the hospital, the baby was coming, and they at first they didn't realize. They said, "You'll have to wait." And then one of the nurses, I don't know how she knew, she said, "Move her fast." And so we didn't have time to do medication. And I had started praying the rosary off and on by then, but it just became my way of getting through that situation, because my husband thank God was there with me, and so in between the breathing, I was praying the rosary constantly, and it was just I think because sometimes my kids think I'm just talking about prayer, and so I realized that I never really explained why the rosary was so important to me, and that was one way it was just, he turned out he was 10'3" when he was born. So I was small. I'm only 5'1", but it was just a beautiful experience, and that he was healthy, and I was fine, and then, but what happened? It was just the rosary had been. I felt like I was getting messages, to pray off and on and in different ways. And a year later, I was responsible for a preschool program at the parish I was involved in Marshfield, and I had a plan. However, I asked if someone had an idea for just to fill in like 5 minutes, just in case. And someone handed me rosary beads and the Golden Book of the Rosary. So I was just really impressed that the children listened, and it went well. And after that, my brother, I didn't share, my younger brother had just a week before we had celebrated my son Michael's first birthday. That was the last time I saw him healthy. He had an aneurysm just out of Westfield State College, probably the most athletic and the smartest of all of us, but he was quadriplegic and was in a coma. And the last time I had been, I said, Lord, what am I here for? He can't even hear. He's in a coma. But, anyway, I would go occasionally. But after, so this was just, it must have been the end of April, because I felt after I had this time with these children, I felt in my heart that possibly the Blessed Mother, but it was a voice saying, why don't you try praying the rosary every day for the month of May? And I started, and then the next time I went to the hospital, I prayed the rosary prior to seeing my brother Paul. And what I found is that I realized that I didn't even know that much about St. Paul, so I started reading to him in the Bible about St. Paul, and the voice that came was, don't worry, he will hear what he needs to hear. So that was another, again, little miracle, and it was just that it was something that I started doing more, and my husband and I we would just do like a decade with the children when they were young. But it kind of, over the years, that's gone, and I was blessed to go to Medjugorje, so it was just a combination of things, wanting my kids to recognize the gift of the faith, and with the culture the way it is, it was a challenge for sure, and now my husband passed. It's been almost 10 and a half years now, but he had started praying the rosary with me, for the last few years prior to that, and he was a very good man and great husband and spouse. But it's I know that for me that it was the Lord that got me through, all of this stuff, and even when my brother was quadriplegic for over 6 years before he passed, I would bring my youngest. Paul was only a baby, and so I'd bring him and sometimes my family, but we would pray a rosary with them, and then it was just, and a couple of years later, it was my mom who had Alzheimer's, and we would pray the rosary with her, and just seeing the calm, that the one thing I noticed with my mom and was that with music or prayer, that's when she would experience peace. So I know a lot of people have the tendency to, their whole character that changes with Alzheimer's. So there's just been a number of things, like since my brother, that was like that whole period of 6 years, and my children were young, so we were back and forth helping with patterning. That was a program my parents found out for him. So it was just, so I guess my heart goes out to like so many people now that with all that we're dealing with, and that they don't have the rosary, or it's not, and I think I shared with the your partner that briefly that it was just having been in Portugal for the 100th anniversary, that was another gift to see where these children, that actually saw the angels and the Blessed Mother. And the one message that she said is, pray the rosary for every day, one rosary a day for our country and peace. And it's like, as I say to people now, it's like, it's been 100 years. We need to get this. It's just, and I love. So I think I was actually, when I heard your sharing about this, I was trying to think of how I could I just wanted to put a couple of ideas somewhere on the computer, because, I know that for me, it's like I love Father Grichel's meditative voice. And so that's something. I don't have a TV, and I haven't had one in probably 8 years, but YouTube has been very helpful because there's so much available.
Mary Lou, just forgive me for the sake of time. I'm going to step in here, and we appreciate your call so much. Just want to save a couple minutes to get Michael on in New York, but you're talking so beautifully, eloquently, articulately about our Blessed Mother, and obviously, she wants nothing more than for us to know her Son Jesus, to know His comfort, His consolation and healing. You've been through a lot of losses, but you've stayed close to the Rosary, and that is so very important. And Debbie, I know you're doing this. I just started the consecration to Saint Joseph. Mary Lou, I would encourage you to do that. You've got a beautiful relationship with Mary and possibly with Joseph as well.
I agree.
But Father Donald Calloway lays out how we have these spiritual parents, if you will, spiritual father and a mother. We have God the Father and the Church as our mother, but we also have Saint Joseph spiritually as our father and Mary as our spiritual mother. Debbie, they're there for us to turn to. And it sounds like for Mary Lou, it has been a source of great power, comfort, and strength.
Absolutely. I caught that as well. And Mary Lou, thank you so much for sharing from your experience of praying the rosary and the effects it has had on your spiritual life and your daily life. And I'll tell you what, that's important for others to hear, because people will say, oftentimes they'll say, well, what does that mean? I'm just saying prayers over and over again. I really don't know, what this is. Is this some kind of superstitious thing? No, no, no. It is a very powerful prayer to enter into the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus and his mother. And I think that is absolutely amazing to that you communicated that as it relates to your own life. And that's going to help others, Mary Lou. So I want to thank you for doing your part to really catechize. You were catechizing in your life story, and that's important. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Mary Lou. We got to get over to Michael before we end the program today, but thank you. God bless you and have a beautiful Mother's Day. Michael in Ballston Spa, New York, listening on the EWTN app. Michael, you get our Virtual Patience Award on steroids. You've been waiting a long time, brother. Thanks for your patience. Welcome.
Oh, yes, and I've been kind of like on the phone kind of waiting around with my mother, and I actually got good news. Hallelujah. Your prayers worked.
Do tell. Do tell.
My mother was dreading then a dreadful prognosis, and the prognosis was a lot better than what she was given for the time being. So,
okay, can you just update us real quick on the situation with your mom, so that we know, and you can remind us and our listeners, Michael?
I just basically asked for prayers, and then I think and what I told the call screen was that she was dreading the fact that the doctor told her to think of something, but then she was assigned to it. But then when she went into the office yesterday, she had an appointment. The doctor did not give her the dreaded word, basically gave her a more update. So that's where we're at. She's still going to need prayers, but at least she's in a lot better shape than
she was before.
Praise God.
Right. Praise God. Thank you, Michael, for giving us an update. And we will continue the prayers. You don't ever have to worry about that. I think sometimes people do hesitate to call back because then we're going to all of a sudden stop and take you out of the book and everything. No, we're going to continue. We believe in storming heaven. Thank you, Michael, for sharing. And tell your mom we love her. Wish her a happy Mother's Day, and let her know that prayers are all around her, as especially now for all mothers. And there's a lot of times that people have thank you, Michael. There's a lot of people that have stepped in and are mothers to others, mothers to others. I just made a rhyme. But it's true, if you think of your nieces or nephews or godchildren or, neighbors, kids or whatever. And, we can demonstrate that, that beautiful love of a mother. And who is the greatest mother? Our blessed mother, our spiritual mother, our blessed mother. So, this is a beautiful time to really look at all angles of motherhood and to honor motherhood in various ways. And so thank you. This was a great conversation. I know it helped me. I hope it helps others, especially those that are far away from their children. Just know we're all together in this, and we wish everyone a very happy Mother's Day.
I'm glad you mentioned godchildren. Karen, one of our regular great listeners, emailed in. She says, I'm with you, Debbie. She says, I don't have children. You have children, but you don't have the relationship with them. Mm-hmm. But she says, I don't have children, 2 godchildren. She says, Mother's Day is an incredibly tough day. Well, Karen, I'm with you. I don't have biological children, but I am a spiritual father to my godchildren, and that gives me great consolation and joy, actually. So, Karen, I hope that will be the same for you. Thanks for being a godparent to a couple of young people.
Oh, yeah. That's a big role. Okay, a couple things, folks. Please make sure you like us on Jerry and Debbie Facebook page. Visit us at standtalltoday.com. Make sure you check out that website. We got new things coming, like the coffees are coming back. Our special coffees, they're coming up. And then Monday's show, we are asking the question, what are you very possessive of? Ooh, that's going to be a good one, Jerry.
Yeah, that could be a lot of things. I'm possessive of my sleep. I don't like to be disturbed out of my sleep. So I get a little cranky then. So there are things, it could be your reading time. It could be your time alone. It could be the time walking your dog, watching your favorite TV show. What are you very, very possessive of? So that's what we're going to talk about on Monday. Until then, Debbie and I and the entire show team want to wish you a beautiful and blessed weekend and a happy Mother's Day.
Dr.
Ray Guarendi.